Good evening, everybody. So tonight I thought I'd just do a little bit of a Project Hobby update on my British forces, and also a bit of Project Z towards the end. So obviously, first off, here we have the Scots Greys on the turntable, and now just coming round. So as you can see, these are the ones which were, if you saw my video on how to paint grey horses, these were the horses that I was doing. Obviously a bit of a different technique to my normal technique, but it just gives you a nice bit of a nice grey finish. As you see, the one for the bugler is done with obviously just the undercoat with the null oil over the top, and the one for the commander is done with a bit of a off-white with the null oil over the top. It brings it out quite nicely. It's a nice easy paint scheme to do. The other cavalry that's on the base with them is obviously the commander and the bugler from the Blues Household Cavalry. These were done in a different way to the Scots Greys. So with these, obviously I painted the base colour on, then I gave them a bit of a strong tone dip, but I just brushed it on over the top, which is why they're a little bit shiny. I need to obviously get a bit of matte varnish on them, just waiting for a little bit just to turn up, and then I'll be matte varnishing them and quite a few of the other miniatures. So obviously these I chose to do, I know they're not part of the same brigade, but on the table they're going to be part of the same brigade. So these I chose to do because it would just make life just a little bit easier to have the two heavy cavalry regiments for the British. I've yet to get some light cavalry of the British, but I'm not sure about painting hussars. So yeah, so that's obviously the two heavy cavalry regiments that I've got. I may get some more in the future, especially some more of the Union Brigade, and possibly I may get another household cavalry in the future and do them as the lifeguards. So obviously that'll be similar techniques to painting them. Obviously they're both heavy dragoons units. Yeah, so obviously my British army is based, loosely based on, terribly sorry about that, loosely based on the Battle of Waterloo and organisation for that. But obviously I know it may not necessarily be 100% historically accurate, the miniatures, but they're good enough for a tabletop standard. So I would let this carry on spinning for about another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll move on to the next one. So obviously here we have one of the British regiments from the, hold on, let me just get it up, from the 3rd British Infantry Brigade, which are in the 2nd British Infantry Division. So I can't remember exactly which one this is, whether it's 52nd or 71st. I think this could be the 52nd. But obviously this is the command base. I do obviously have all the relevant ensigns and everything on a couple of other bases. So what I've done with this is obviously again just painted the base colours, gone over with a bit of strong tone, and just need to whack a bit of matte varnish over the top. As you see, the drummer is done as per standard with his coat, the colour, same colours of cuffs of the regiment and the colours of the regiment, and then obviously his collars and cuffs are red. It's mainly a warlord commander and warlord drummer. The other two miniatures, I can't remember where I got them from. I think they could be Perry's, I'm not quite sure. But obviously it's quite a simple technique. Just put the base colours on, put the wash over the top, flock the base, job done. So what I tend to do with my bases as well is I go over with a miniature paint first. The earth brown miniature paint, which is number 82. Yes, so this is obviously the second one, which actually I think this is the 71st, yes, which means the other one was 52nd. Yes, so this is 71st. As you can see, I've got the ensigns and the king's colours on the same as the commander and the drummer on this one. So obviously the 71st Royal Highland Regiment, I've been a little bit crafty with this, to be quite honest, because what I've done is, so that I don't have to do the tartan on the Shakos, obviously I've given them the coloured Shakos. So I mean, again, fairly standard, fairly easy, quick, simple paint scheme. Get it painted, get it on the table, get it playing, which, well, that's by far the best way of doing it. So, as I say, obviously this is the 3rd British Infantry Brigade from the 2nd British Infantry Division at Waterloo. So I will let you enjoy this for a little while, and then we'll be back with another base in a second. So here we are with some of the 95th. These are some of the 2nd Battalion, 95th Foot. What you will note with these is, so I can distinguish them between the 3rd Battalion, which will be coming along in a minute. Obviously the miniatures are slightly different colour. Now obviously they're mounted on 2 penny pieces. And then I do believe that these are Warlord miniatures, these ones. But obviously the slings, oh, terribly sorry, the slings for the rifles for these I've actually painted white. I know they're supposed to be black, but I've done that so that if, say for example, you have this battalion and then a couple of companies from the 3rd Battalion, which will be coming up in a minute, if you have them together, then you can still distinguish who's in which unit, just to make life a little bit easier if they decide to split up, or if they're skirmishing as they normally would do ahead of the line. So most people would know 95th from things like Sharp and Sharp's rifles and the Sharp series on the telly. And oh dear, terribly sorry about this. And also from the Bernard Cromwell books, the Sharp books. So interestingly enough about the 95th, now most people assume the 95th wore green jackets for camouflage. They didn't actually. They wore green jackets because they were following the trend from the Jaegers, and obviously the king was quite fond of the Jaegers, which is why obviously they have the V as well. They did have an ode to camouflage, which is obviously the black collars and cuffs, because obviously the 60th Rifles, who were actually formed before the 95th. Terribly sorry, I don't think I better go get myself a cup of coffee. They had red collars and cuffs, and obviously a lot of people would go, oh well, wait a minute, they saw the red before they saw the green, so they see the red jumping about the place. So obviously, as I said, this is the 3rd Battalion, slightly different miniatures, not quite sure which ones these are. These are ones which I bought a job lot second hand, and then obviously just sort of painting them up. So these ones are obviously painted slightly more detailed than the last one, but the miniatures were slightly more detailed. These are actually quite nice to paint. Yeah, so ooh, I really am sorry about this. I think I really do need a cup of coffee. It's getting quite late now, unfortunately. So obviously you can see here the officer, the bugler, and the sergeant. And as you can tell, these ones have got the black slings on the rifles rather than the white. So I will let you enjoy these for about another minute or so, and then up next I'm sure we will be having the brigade commander. So here we have a Major General Adam, the brigade commander of the 3rd British Infantry Brigade. So interestingly enough, you'll know that he's got a green plume. That is because the brigade was a light infantry brigade. Yes, so obviously the 3 battalions, so the 52nd, 71st and 95th battalion, so all 2nd battalion 95th, and then a couple of companies of the 3rd battalion 95th, all light infantry. So obviously I know he's just a single model, but for the purpose of black powder, that's all you really need, just a single model. I may put him on a bigger base with some aide-de-camps and bits and pieces a bit later on, but for the purposes of just gaming, he is just by himself. So obviously I will let you enjoy him for about another 30 seconds, and then we will be moving on to another brigade. Hello there, yes, so back we are. I've managed to get myself a cup of coffee in the meantime, which is quite nice. So what we have here is, I do believe, maybe not, so these next few command bases are from the 14th, 23rd and 51st Foot, which made up the 4th British Infantry Brigade from the 4th British Infantry Division. Obviously these two divisions, so the 2nd British Infantry Division and the 4th British Infantry Division, were part of the 2nd Army Corps for the Army of the Netherlands at the Battle of Waterloo. So it's obviously these were commanded by Colonel Mitchell, who will be coming up a little bit later on. So as you can see, these are some of the first miniatures that I painted. These next few ones. So they're all kind of like a bit higgledy-piggledy all over the place, not necessarily the best in the world, but again painted to a tabletop standard. So obviously the 51st were a light infantry battalion as well. I can't remember which one this is exactly. Obviously none of these don't have the ensigns on as the 71st do. Simply because obviously I liked to split them up, just give a little bit of variety in the line, so that obviously they're not right next to each other, so they can actually wait for the coffee to kick in, I think. So you get a nice little bit of variety in them. So as I say, as you can see, it's a fairly just basic colour scheme. I mean, a red coat's a red coat at the end of the day. These ones are, I'm not sure about these. These ones are the 23rd. Yes, these ones are the 23rd. Looking at the collars and cuffs, these were actually the first ones that I ever painted. First Napoleonics I ever really painted, which I'm sure you can tell. As you can tell, these ones have all got slightly different coloured trousers for the officers and everything, but I changed to using the Warlord command for Waterloo because the officers have got great coats. Ooh, I really am sorry. So again, I've gone for, obviously this is part of the 4th British Infantry Brigade of the 4th British Infantry Division. So I do have another brigade to do after I've finished all of my British. I do have another British brigade, which I was thinking of doing the 6th British Infantry Brigade, which would obviously partner up quite nicely with these guys. So these ones are obviously the 51st, which were a light infantry. But again, what I've done with these guys is I've obviously put the ensigns and the king's colours on the same base as the command base. But these ones are actually slightly taller. Hence that's why they don't fit in there. I deliberately chose to do that so they stand out a little bit more. Again, it's just to add a little bit of variety to to the colours. Now what you may note is obviously the officer from this is I think he's one of the Peninsular War ones, or he could be a Perry miniature. I can't quite remember. I'll have to have a closer look. I think he could be a Perry. I think he's a Perry. But again, it's just with the ensigns and the King's colours and everything, it's so they can split them up, so it makes it easier to tell the difference between everybody and what's going on with everything. So I just prefer the look of the army like that. What obviously I will do is when hopefully get a little battery report. Excuse me, yawning. I really should get to bed earlier, but the kids kept me up a little bit last night and been awake early for work and everything today. So, as I say, this is the 51st. So coming up next, obviously we will be having the brigade commander. So obviously it's only 3 battalions in this brigade, but it's a nice couple of brigades. So here we are. So here's the brigade commander. Again, he was the first brigade commander that I painted. So obviously his collar's red, but his cuffs are green. But again, I can't. There's no point in me painting him. He's good enough for a tabletop standards. Not 100% historic accurate. I completely agree, but he's on he's again on a 2-penny piece, a bit like 95th, and the same as the other brigade commander. So I will let you. Well, I desperately try and go and grab myself a cup of coffee. I will let you enjoy this with the music going on in the background, and have fun. And we will be back shortly with a little bit of artillery. Okay, so here we are with the artillery. This is obviously the Royal Foot Artillery. This is just one cannon from the battery. I have 2 cannons in this battery. Again, just a very simple paint scheme with a bit of strong tone over the top. You'll see obviously the commander stood at the front. Now he's obviously the commander for the battery, so the second cannon in this battery does not actually have that commander model on him, on the base. So I know obviously these people standing in front of the gun, but this artillery piece is not being fired. The other artillery piece in the battery is being fired. So obviously for the British, I have these are 9-pounders, and then I've also got a couple of 9-pounder horse artillery, which I'm in the process of painting up. I've got a base coat on the horses, and I've got a base coat on the limber, which I also have for it. But that's about it really. Simply because I've also got some 12-pounders for the French, which I'd quite like to get painted up, because then I can get them in a battery report, and then the French have got artillery, the French have got cavalry, British have got artillery, British have got cavalry, so then we can cover all aspects of black powder. I mean, it's a bolt action then. I haven't got any bolt action in this report at the minute. But I'm sure a couple of you will have seen my ham and jam battery report. So yes, so I will let you enjoy this for a little bit longer, and then we will be moving on to something a little bit different. So, as you can tell from the change in the background music, we have now moved on to Project Z by Warlord. So obviously Black Powder's by Warlord and this is by Warlord. I do quite like Warlord games. So on the turntable at the minute we have a selection of various different zombies. It's not all the zombies you get in the box set. This is about half, maybe just over. As you can see, they're all painted up individually. Ooh, gonna be really waiting for this coffee to kick in. They're all painted up individually, simply because they're all individual models. They're quite nice models to put together. They are multi-part plastic, so you can give them different poses, and obviously you can give them, a couple of them got weapons. You can see the nod to Baywatch and a couple of nods to The Walking Dead. You'll see a couple more a bit further on. So again, you will note that a couple of them have got, it's like you get very specific models, like obviously this one coming around now, which is, that's how that one goes together. But a lot of them you can multi-pose and do what you like with them, and quite nice models. Painting them up again, they're all individuals, so it's up to you if you want to sequence paint them. I mean, obviously as you can see, there's quite a lot of them which were in the same colours, but I've done that so you kind of get a bit of a gang feel, because you can get gangs in this, so it's kind of like they've all clubbed together and all of a sudden they've all been hit at the same time. So yeah, so that's one of the things with that. So as you can imagine, it's quite an interesting game setup to watch and play. I mean, the game in itself is quite a good game to play. I mean, the zombies are fairly autonomous as well. So when you're playing Project Z, you're not just playing yourself, you're playing against the game. So you've got to take into account these zombies. Some of them can be quite nasty. I mean, as you can see, it's kind of like the ones with the green and the khaki and the red shoes. I've actually painted them up because I've done my biker gang in the same as that. And then obviously you've got the general Joe public ones. Obviously there's a dead police officer, dead businesswoman and everything. So yeah, so I'll let you watch these for a little bit, and then I won't spoil what's coming up next. So here we have the male survivors. These ones actually came in the box set. You can also get female survivors. I don't have any of them at this present moment in time, and I'm actually calling this project complete. I don't really fancy doing any of the female survivors, but as you can see, there's quite a few various different bits that we've got in here. So we've got a guy with a crossbow. Excuse me, guy with a baseball bat. Again, all individual models. It's something different. This obviously, these gave me a little bit of a break from the Napoleonics. The Napoleonics are all the same, and you can sit down and sequence paint. Most probably knock a battalion out in a couple of days or a week or something like that if you really wanted to. These guys kind of sit down and paint them individually. It's actually quite nice because you've got to think about a model, a bit of a break, make you think. I mean, anybody who's seen The Walking Dead, I'm sure you'll be spotting a couple of characters in here which you know, and everything. But that's the thing. Again, these are multi-part plastics, which different posables to a certain extent. Oh dear. To a certain extent, obviously, there's various arms that go on various models, but you get a bit of a selection, a bit of variety. So I'm not sure how the female survivors fit into everything, but obviously the male survivors, main job for survivors is they go out, they're hunting resources, going after the resources, trying to get the resources so they can survive. And then the zombies are there. So I mean, to be honest, there's nothing to stop you from playing Project Z by yourself. You could easily play as a solo game, with a little bit of an adaptation of the rules, and quite easily play as a solo game if you wanted. There are forces where you can get in order to play a solo game, but I mean, again, these guys' job is just to go out, collect the loot, get back, try and survive. That's what they're really there for. The weapons are mainly there for defensive purposes, and for taking out zombies. I wouldn't necessarily try and hit people with them. I know people that have tried, but again, there's a guy that was changed, always chopped off a zombie's arm. That's one of my favourite models out of the whole lot, actually. Yeah, that one. So, okay, so here we've got the special forces. These are obviously the ones you get in the box set for the special forces. You do also get new rules and new missions for the special forces. Excuse me. You can get a truck that goes with the special forces for special forces insurgents. I'm not going to be using that one for these guys. What I'm going to use for my special forces is I've got a couple of resident vehicles which I can use anyway. I've got a truck that I can use, slightly different one, which I think will be a little bit more in keeping with the whole apocalypse atmosphere. So again, these guys' main job within Project Z is, again, these guys aren't going into for resources. These guys are going in to clear an area and make it safe and find survivors and rescue them. So obviously these guys, as you can see, they've got a lot more heavy weapons. They're much more kitted out. They've got bazookas, shotguns, assault rifles. There's a guy there reloading a magazine on an M16. SMGs. They've got grenade launchers and other bits and pieces. So these guys are designed to be going in, getting the zombies, killing them down. Again, these are multi-part plastics, but to a certain extent you can choose which weapons go on which people. But again, not really a difficult paint scheme for these guys. Just a bit of khaki here and there, slightly different colour for the webbing, strong tone wash over the top, done. Yeah, so that's just very basic. I didn't go for any specific special forces, just went for a bit of a generic one. The idea being these are all ex-military personnel that are going in, and they've just all banded together really. They could be from several different military forces. I've not specifically chosen any particular military force in mind for painting these guys. The other thing about all of these miniatures is the survivors, these guys, and what's going to be coming up in a minute. If you wanted to, you could use it for Spectre as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be purely Project Z. But I'll let you enjoy these guys for a little bit, and then for the next ones we will see where we're at. There we go. So this is obviously the last faction. These are the bikers. As I say, if you spin back to the zombies right at the start, you'll see that a couple of the zombies are painted up as bikers. So obviously with the bikers you've got the novice bikers, and then you've got the proper bikers, or aspirants, or whatever the novices, whatever they're called. So obviously in the middle, terribly sorry about that. At the time of recording this is now about 9:30, and I've been up since about 3 o'clock this morning. So it's getting quite late for me, as you can tell. So Obviously with this, primarily a lot of this you would actually get in the box set, all apart from the Biker Champion, who I bought myself, all separately. He's the one with the proper chopper with the extra person on the bike with the rocket launcher. As you can see, these guys are kitted out slightly more than the survivors would be. That's because these guys' job, not only are they going in for the loot, but they're also going in to kill the survivors, because they don't want the survivors to survive. So these guys are going in, grabbing as much as they can, kill as many people, cause shit, cause havoc, stamp their ground on the territory and get out. Which is basically the way that these guys play the game. I'm not sure I can add too much more to that. So, as I say, if you guys just enjoy it, and then hopefully may get a game, may get a battle report coming out sooner rather than later with these guys, and hopefully be able to see something, see how it's played, see how we get on with it. So, as I say, this project, as far as I'm concerned, is complete. Project Z is complete as far as I'm concerned. No plans on getting any more. Quite happy with what I've got, quite happy with the paint jobs that are on these. Again, simple paint job on these guys, nothing too major. So with that, I will bid you good night, and thank you very much. And if you can, please like, comment and subscribe. Any questions or anything else, just leave a note in the comments, and catch you all later. Have fun.